Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm not sure how familiar anyone is with Twilio. I know I wasn't before. Twilio is a pretty cool API. It lets you send SMSs, it lets you send multimedia messages, and you can also integrate into phone calls. And they have a really cool REST API, and you could really do a lot of things with messaging. So that's actually something that I work pretty much on a daily basis with when it comes to integrating into the API. And just some of the samples, you have the base URL, and then if you wanted to send a message, you have all these posts. You just pretty much post a message to the correct route with in JSON, and that's how you get everything done. So we could build everything from scratch, but then again, we're Ruby coders, so there's always something better, and there's a gem for it. So there's a Twilio Ruby gem, and it integrates everything, and it's such an easy thing to get started with. So that's what I started doing. Here's the installation, so pretty much just add this to your gem file, and then a little bit of configuration. So that's kind of what I'm gonna go over right now. Let me see if I can present this. Did that go into full screen? Perfect. So I wanted to do this very formal Twilio API talk, so I got a formal looking slide, but that wasn't gonna work for me, so then this is my real start. So don't lose your tacos using Twilio, and that's the topic of the talk right now. So to get started, this is how you set it up. You need an account SID and authentication token. And then the neat part is that to send an SMS, it's really simple. Client.messages.create, your from number, your to number, and the body is just a text that you want to include with that. So it's very easy setup. So I was super happy because once I got this and started working, and they asked me to integrate that. And hold on, before I do this, let me show you why we need this. So here's our homepage. Visitor, the only way to sign up with the company that I work with is through a phone number. So you would input in your number, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once you hit get sent, you would get a confirmation text message from us. So for me to be able to do that, I had to get something going. And this is what it is. So it's a very simple method. Here's the SID, the auth token, the from phone number. And here you go, that piece of code that we saw earlier. Messages.create from phone to the SMS phone. And hey, this is Sensei, look out for an invitation soon. So very simple, I was super happy. But as a developer, then you start realizing that when you do something good, then somebody wants more of it. So now I have another method for a second SMS. And the thing is that, you know, here I am new and I don't want to bother with trying to figure everything out. So I just go ahead and say, hey, if the first one worked, let me just make another one just like it. It'll probably work. And it did. And then they wanted another one. And then they wanted some more. And this is how my model, my user model started looking. So I had all these things and it just didn't feel right to have so much code doing the same thing. And I'm sure it wasn't right. So I started looking for something a little bit better, and that's something that might help you out if you're trying to figure out how to implement this. So I thought I could do a little bit better. I kind of reached out for some help, and this was a little bit better. So get all my variables started in the beginning, and start up my Twilio client, and then be able to do just a simple message to a method. It's good, it's better, but it's still tied into your user model. It's still only something that I can use with a user model. So I started thinking maybe I could do a little bit better. And that's when I remembered this right here from the Twilio Ruby gem instructions. Alternatively, you can pre-configure the client like so. So I went ahead and made an initializer in twilio.rb, and I went ahead and initialized the Twilio client like so. So there you go, that's the example. That's what I coded, pretty much exact copies, just only difference is using some environment variables, but that's about it. Once I did that, then I remembered that Rails is Ruby and we can just create new Ruby objects. So that's what I did, created a new class. So this is my SMS class, initialize the SMS with a phone and a message, and then pretty much just create a send the SMS method. So here's my from phone, here's initializing the client, and here's the way I do it. So now what this gave me, it's a new ability. Instead of having to go through all that code and be tied into the user model, now I can just do something very simple. SMS.new, my phone number, the copy of the text, and then the method to send the SMS. So here's me typing this in, here's Twilio reacting to what I was doing, and oops. And here's the message I got to my cell phone. Hello, fire hosers. And I don't want all your numbers so that you won't get a message from me today. But here it is. So that was a very simple. So now with that new superpower of being able to just do that SMS.new, it's time to go back to my user model. So I made a private method, send the SMS, and then it takes in a copy variable. So SMS.new, the user.phone, and the copy, and then call the send SMS method, send SMS method. So now it's time to go back to my old code and see what we can do. So this whole ugly piece of thing all of a sudden became two very simple, clean lines of code. Defining what the copy variable is, and I did it that way just to kind of keep it a little bit neater looking rather than just putting all the copy right inside the parentheses. So every method now is just send, copy equals, send SMS, and then pass along the copy. So we went from this, or I went from this to just that. It's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to read, a lot easier to change if I need to do it in the future. And that is how you become a lord of Twilio and tacos. So that was my presentation.
Cool, cool. Does anybody have any questions for Angel?
How does Twilio handle the responses? So I use Sensei, and I actually really like the product.
Cool, thanks.
So I think was very interesting on getting it to work. So is the anonymity of the send and receiver part of the Twilio, or is that part of other proprietary code?
It's a mix. It's a mixture. So the way we're doing send and receive, so for those that don't know, what we're doing at Sensei, where I work, is you send an initial message to our main phone number. But when you get paired up with someone that's going to help you or pretty much just start a chat, you're starting a chat from a different phone number. And that number is still anonymous. So they're not getting your number, you're not getting their number. Both of you are just seeing the Sensei number. So the way, in part, we're accomplishing that is Twilio has these things. Let me see if I can see it in the documentation here. They've got their own language, XML, and this is a set of instructions you can combine with Twilio that says, if you get this, what do we do with it? So we're having them forward those messages to our routing engine, and then you can use the API to call the ID of each message. So that's how we're pairing you up. So we know who sent it in, we assign an ID to that, and then we're pairing up those IDs. So even though in reality you're just texting Twilio, now we're calling the ID on that. We're getting notified that a message came in, we're pairing it up again, and then resending you another message. And that's how we're pretty much accomplishing that. So it's pretty neat. There's a lot of stuff going into that to make sure that we don't lose track of messages. Sometimes we run into issues like carrier issues that are out of our control, things like that. But for the most part, that's what it is.
Awesome.
How many phone numbers does your app have? So like I've messed around with Twilio, and they have like the ability to automatically, like through the API, to build a new phone number that you have, but then you have to like pay per month per number that you have allocated, and that can those charges can add up really quickly if you have like multiple phone numbers. So like, how many phone numbers do you have, and do you have any systems to like manage the wrangling of the phone numbers that you have?
We have 10, well, we had 10 phone numbers. We have more now, but we had 10 phone numbers. And really, since we can use the same phone number for different chats, for different people, we can reuse that number because Twilio has no concept of a chat. All they know is they're SMSing in and SMSing out. So what we're doing is we're taking those unique IDs out of that chat, and that's how we're pairing you up. So we can use those 10 numbers for a lot of chats, a lot of concurrency. So we're not really running into that. I think the main reason that we added more numbers wasn't really a scalability thing. It was more of trying to show a little bit of presence in different area codes. Honestly, that's about it.
Super interesting. Cool stuff. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, have you done anything with the Twilio voice side of things, or has it all been SMS or MMS?
On my end, I've only done things on the SMS side. I started looking into the voice, and there's a lot of neat things you can do with it. It's all similar, and if you actually use a Twilio Ruby gem, you can also do the voice features with it. So the routes are laid up very similarly. They very well documented. That's what I really like about Twilio. So I don't think you should have a lot of trouble getting that set up, especially because they have all these resources for it. If you have time, look through the how-tos and examples. They have a lot of neat examples both on SMS and on voice. And they kind of just walk you through the code. A lot of them have Ruby code already ready. And you can kind of learn a lot just by looking through what they do.
Cool.
Cool, good stuff. Does anybody else have any other questions? Cool, good stuff. So yeah, that was an awesome talk. Really interesting stuff about the Twilio API and sort of the depth that you sort of had to get into that because of sort of the stuff that you guys do over at Sensei. Like really pretty fascinating stuff. So awesome talk, Angel.